Pardon me. Oh, is that better? I'm very sorry for that. Hey, from the viewer, very good. First time, Dash SC. Whereabouts you from? I'm very sorry for the inconvenience of the mute there. I thought I had it running when I was ready to fire the program up. So how are things in this? Is it South Carolina or SC? Whereabouts you from? Thank you for joining in, by the way. First time viewer. I'm doing just some little soldier studies on product design work here, and I think just and when I started the whole program about getting into things like, for example, doing a soldier study, basically the elevation, turning it into perspective. I don't think no, that's right. I'm just referring to your note there. So soldier studies are kind of interesting because they take advantage of the fact that you're just doing a series of elevation studies, but at the same time you're giving a little bit of drama to them, look at proportions, scale, character, weights, and all the things that are involved in before you go into a process of giving it a perspective. So let me just move along here for a little bit, and we'll kind of come back in here and just kind of tune this in just a bit more. There it is. It's got some division lines in here now. Draw back into these guys. That's that. A bit of tone change here to kind of a little more core in the bottom of this guy. Let's come back in through here, and let's pick a little bit of light source up. A little bit, highlight across the top. This one's go back and use the same approach again. A little bit of highlight with some pastel, kind of blend that in with your hand, and come back across it with a Webro pad and just soften it off a little bit. Just get a little more halo up on top of that thing. And there you are. We'll come back in with a little bit more. Again, light source change. Just kind of put where that hot spot's going to be there, and then bring it off the page just a bit. Down on this surface here, just kind of highlight what that's doing. Again, there, and there. And take it right off the page and just trail it right off. Let me turn this upside down for a moment here and sharpen the stick. And again, into this beauty. Put a sky tone in this thing. A little bit more of a core underneath here. Pick up some of the chrome. A bit of shadow underneath this little offset here. Bring the shadow back into this. And again underneath. And again, just enough in through here. Put a bit of highlight on this guy. And a bit of shadow underneath it. And again, some identification. And again, a quick little explosive study here, and just looking at, again, the impact of a soldier study and how to begin to look at weights and proportions and line weight changes and the like, and how that all begins to function to put together a very simple set of proportions that might be yay or nay, and looking at it from a very interesting point of view, just to see what is taking place here in terms of, are we developing the right kind of shapes? Are we looking at surfaces? Are we looking at different approaches to handle graphics, overall proportion of the vehicle or the concept itself? So once again, let's see, Dash, please let me know how are things down there. And I'm very sorry for the inconvenience of not having it up full sound here. Boy, I thought it for sure I had it on when I tuned in, but I obviously did not. So thank you very much for joining us. Hope this makes sense. Any questions so far? Or are we doing all right? Let me just kind of hold on for a second there. We'll just kind of move on. If I get some response back from you, I'd love to hear from you. And again, thanks for tuning in. So let's just kind of move along here. So there's one, and then we'll just get that guy started. Let's move along here. We've got a couple of these pieces put together here. And by the way, too, I said I had just sat down ahead of time and did some very quick little thumbnail sketches to kind of get things started, to save some time on the stream itself, to get more down to the operation of working with the actual forums themselves. So a lot more intriguing in terms of putting together the shapes and surfaces and having them come to life here off the page with these soldier studies. So once again, let's kind of do this. Let's kind of get that background in place first here. Let's kind of go, let's put this aside here for a moment. Just kind of stain that backdrop in. Kind of give this combination, or this set of sketches a little bit of a backdrop. We can use that as a negative space impact piece. Just going to open this up just a touch. Make sure it's nice and stained in. Upside down just for a moment here. Start to block in some of these shapes already, and where we're going to put some of the negative areas. So we get this fine tip here to work, and we'll move along here. Great, it's got it. Excellent. No, so there's this kind of blocking in some of the surfaces to kind of get started here to put some interesting shape together here. So let's do this. Let's come back in and reverse things here. Let's go back up on top here. Put a nice solid body color on top of this guy. Keep it simple. And just tone it in and get the first pass to put together here. All right, just basically laying in some form here. Let's go back in and get this little insert piece taken care of. High contrast. And again, really using the soldier study as a kind of an element of just putting some proportion together, looking at character and some little aspects and features within the design process here. So we're just looking at some sketch rendering, what ifs. Back in through here just for a moment. Now back into the nice neutral tone here to kind of work through. Get this kind of drop down just a bit here. Yeah, number 6 grade, we're just going to put a little bit of tone in this thing. Get the brightness in this thing. A little bit of a core underneath. Touch of it up on top. Run that through. Get a little bit of shadow inside this piece here. And get this gun to work the same way. Just a little bit of shadow underneath this element here, kind of where the grip is. And we'll put that into place here. And come out of that with just a little bit of return here. Let's add a little bit of highlight in this thing now. Oops, sorry about that. There we are. A little bit of this up on top. Take that right on through. Use that little magic dust called the eraser. Kind of pull that back just a bit. Come back underneath here. Clear some of that up. Highlight in the middle of this whole guy. Take it on through the shape. Come back in. Eliminate some of this material. Using an eraser as a sketch rendering tool, really a great little trick to work with, because it kind of, that's what I love about working with pastel. You kind of lay it in there and all of a sudden it gives you a whole new breather in terms of being able to erase it out and adjust with it, as opposed to it being permanent and fixed like the marker does. So let's go back in and adjust here again. A little bit of highlight in this guy. Bring it on through the shape. And then just a touch of it here. And then again, let's get these division lines in place. Bit of shadow behind this guy. A bit of core inside the chrome here. A bit of shadow underneath this, as well as this. Back to a little bit more highlight here, and here. more of a pass here. Just get this guy to kind of read just a bit more. So return in through here. Or pass a bit of that pastel up on top. And we'll kind of come back in through here, designate this. And there you are. There's another little rough study in soldiers. Kind of bring it all together here, and just fun stuff. I mean, it's a very controlled set of environment. For example, you're dealing with an elevation that has no perspective, but you're trying to create some form to it. And I think that's one of the nice things about a soldier study. You know, again, the rationale behind it is just to line them all up and just do a series of elevation studies, changing the scale, height, weight, proportion, etc., surface work, and then you begin to look at some of the development of the alternatives, of the pluses and minuses of that. Then you begin to select the design process and the one that's the finalizer, and begin to really fine tune it and make a huge difference in the concept itself. So let's go back in again, and let's just kind of get this guy a nice little simple pass out of here. Let's go to a number 4 gray and tone this back just a touch. Keep this little thumbnail study simple. Just enough tone. Working with Copic marker. Make a little bit of change to it. Just a bit of stain. Take that right through the process itself. Add a little bit of the core line through the guy there. And let's get that Presto grip down below in place. Number 6 gray. Let's go this route with it. Yeah. Let's get this guy all set up here. A little bit of shadow in the offset here. In this case, just put a little bit of that powder up on top here and just kind of let it go highlight. Very subtle. Let's do this. Draw through it. Work right through the process itself. Come back in and just erase. Again, pastel just being a great tool to kind of put it, and again, you can automatic highlight right back into the shape itself without a lot of push. Very interesting. It's just a simple little study here. So let's put a bit of highlight in this thing. And first of all, let's get some of the division lines down. Add a little bit of this in place to it. Shadow. A little bit of shadow in here. Definitely underneath here. And come back in again, sharpen the stick up a bit. A little bit of highlight in through here. And through here. Come back to the number 6 gray. A little bit more tone in this thing. And again here. And a little thumbnail sketch, just a little vignette here to kind of put phase 2 together. And let's go back in just for a moment here and clean this up just a bit up on top here, get rid of some of the excess. And then last but not least, with this combination here, where we've got this guy out, let's kind of put this into place here. Let's put this cap back on. We'll go the other way here, and hopefully, let's see, Dash, are you still there? Hopefully this is making sense for you. Please let me know if you're still hanging on here. Great to have you on board, by the way. Thank you. Let's go back into this. Just gonna just tone this thing right out of here. Again, gang, the whole premise of today's lesson is to get those soldier studies down and begin to really develop a nice feel for overall form, proportion, graphics, and so forth, and the actual shapes we're doing with these power drills. Just a theoretical piece. Let's go back and lay a little bit more of this color up on top here. Keep them simple. And then the pistol grip. Very delicately just kind of laying in some of these surfaces with marker. So we'll come back in and draw back in and embellish them as best we can here. Just going to get them to read a little stronger. That's that. Just going to pick a little bit of that. Pick a little bit of that highlight up or shadow up on these guys just for what it's worth. Shadow. Basically all pencil sketch here. We're just going to lay some of this in with a Prismacolor pencil and just kind of let it run just a bit here. A bit of shadow underneath this guy. A bit of highlight behind it. And again, simple little thumbnail sketch. I'm just getting the forums. Hey, how you doing there? Demetrius Home Store was wondering, is that yes, it is Canson paper. Demetrius, it is Canson. I'm working with a very limited palette. Canson paper, bright red, and some Copic markers, Prismacolor pencils, a little bit of pastel. So good to have you on board. How have you been? You doing well? And again, Dash, I hope you're still there. Thank you for the info on the audio, and I'm really sorry about the fact that I started that program without that being up. I really got into it too quick to hear, so thank you for reminding me of that. Let's put a bit of highlight back into this guy. There it is. So there we are. That just kind of puts it all together just a bit here. Just put a little bit stronger highlight in this thing. There we go. Just going to walk that right on in. There it is. That's a little bit bolder. There you go. Kind of gives you a little bit of steam of where we are. And then just underneath that, just for one more pass at it, let's get that core reinforced. That's stronger. There we go. That gets a little stronger. There you are, folks. That has some run to it. There it is. That's phase number 2. I hope this is making sense for you. And again, the purpose is to really highlight the fact that sometimes it's really a lot of fun to just kind of pull back a little bit and do some soldier studies, because what they tell us is how to work with scale, proportions, character, features, all those things that we're dealing with is a really, really a strong proponent for finding a nice resolve for a final design solution, and we can take it from there. So let's kind of go back into this. And we'll just do this. I think that's one more passer. That kind of background's fading just a bit here. Just got a little more dark surface in this guy. Going to stain it down just a bit more. A little more body in this thing. That might help it. There we are. That's a little bolder, I think, a little stronger. Kind of gets the job done for us there. Just a little, again, vignettes on a very simple exercise about what a soldier study is. And I think the soldier study origin, in case you missed that in the very beginning of the conversation, was the fact that it came out of the automobile industry, where we take a look at certain things and get the wheelbase down and do a proportional study, just in side view, to kind of get an idea of height, proportion, width, all the elements and features and so forth, and character, personality in the sketch. And then that's what these soldier studies are doing here with this drill study. It's just looking at how do I put this thing into play, and what am I looking at as far as surfaces and grip and forms and the actual power system itself. All these things begin to help develop a format here to go with it. So there's sketch number 2. Let's get that out of the way, and we'll come back and review those in a moment. And then we'll come back in and just add one more little mix here and see what we can do with this guy. Just keeping him nice and bold and very direct. Very simple. Let's go back the other way here. Let's see what we've got here. Let's put this back together. Pardon me for my hands being in the way. So here's another little thumbnail sketch. We've already started a little bit here. Let's kind of put the background in place first. Give it a bit of a drop. I always like to use a background because we reinforce the fact that if we don't include that, sometimes we overwork the sketch itself. So this little vignette in the background is going to help you really bounce the shape off the page and spend less time being fussy with it and doing a nice job of keeping a nice, simple, clean soldier study for the concept we're looking at here. So let's kind of get this sweep in place. Cut this back. Bring it out just a bit. Let's open this up just a bit more. We've kind of went past the guideline here, so we're going to beef it up just a touch more. There we are. It's going to begin to fill this in. We'll probably go through into this thing maybe a couple of times with a nice little change of pace here. To get it to go to a nice solid black, so it doesn't look like it's been partially bleached, but a nice solid background to work from. By the way, I think it's worth noting at this stage of the game too, one of the nice things about working with Canson paper is it provides the middle ground. And especially in a soldier study, you don't have to worry about going all the way down the value scale from light to dark. That paper surface is the actual middle tone itself, and all you're doing is going from highlight, middle tone, and then down to the shadow. That's the reason behind this high contrast series of sketches you're seeing here today. So let's go back into this. Turn this upside down, pardon me. So there we are. Just going to divide this guy a bit here. I've got the marker out. Just going to put that in place. back to the other barrel end here. Now that I've got that, let's do this. Good deal, got that set. Let's come back in here and really be bold with this, and let's kind of drop this thing all the way out here. Let's kind of have fun with this guy. Come back in and pick up some of the detailing in just a moment here. Once we get this stained in. Just gotta tune it in just a little bit here. Get the upper sweep to kind of be a little sweeter here, a little fuller, and drop it. There we are. Now let's come back in and just finish this little tail section off here and put the rest of the story together. Back in through here. Lightest value, a little bit of light gray. Get this guy to kind of run a little bit for us now. Away from the light source, just drop it out, tone it in just a bit. Take this handler graphic, pull it in just a bit. Get that to kind of click, and do the same thing up front here. Let's kind of run that right through. That to kind of form through here. And again, let's notch it down. Let's take it down a notch here. Number 4 gray. And again, same thing up on top. A little bit more light source change here. A little bit formal gray here. Let's knock that out, a little bit of a base to sit on. While we're at it here, let's get that highlight to kind of function right off the bat. So it's going to be here, there, and so there might be a little rotary control knob that controls power perhaps, but you just kind of spin it and away you go. There it is. Just get that underneath the work, and let's put a little bit of platform on this thing so it kind of sits right on top of that area right there. So there's the little theme started there. So here we are. Let's come back in and get this guy to function a little bit. Let's go back and get some highlight on top of this thing. Let's get a little bit of that separation here to begin with. There it is. We get a little bit of it here. A little bit of highlight in here. Little by little, we're getting there. Just a little bit of highlight in this thing. Get that shape to separate itself. Got a little line sweep right there. It tells me where that light source is going to come from here. So I can come back in. We're going to tune this line in just a bit. And let's come back in and add just a little bit more of that highlight right into there. Let it fade. So then we're starting to build the shape up off of this soldier study by just getting a little more flamboyant with it. Let me sharpen the stick here. We're going to do this. And put a little bit of a breather in here. A little bit of shadow. And a little bit of highlight. And again, just a touch more of that core coming through here, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a sense of being a different material. Again, a little more highlight in through here. And again through here. And again, nice little pass through here. And just take it right around the bend here, just a bit. Let's come back and pick this up. Right through. And last but not least, just a little bit of shadow underneath this grip area here. It's going to do this. It's going to kick this in just a bit and take it right around the bend. Same radius. Let's kind of bring this into play here. There's a little bit more animation in that form itself. And oh, isn't that funny how that thing just, with a simple little tool of using, for example, a pastel, and this is why I love that process so much. If I put more in there, for example, I come back right into this thing with an eraser and just see where that highlight line is? Again, come right back in and pick up the same hot spot by just using an eraser. Tremendous tool to work with. All of a sudden, we ignore those things and we get graphics back into there. You take that same shape and bring it right out of the handle here, and look what begins to happen here. You get all these little subtleties as a result of understanding what the process is. Look at those little changes make a huge difference. Hope you can see that on the screen. I hope that it's working all right. Let's put a little bit more magic back into this, finish it off a little bit more pencil work, a little more highlight. Let's come back and get that thing to scream up on top here a little bit more. Take that right on through, so it's going to be a highlight there. And again here, and this is going to take it off and just kind of trail it. So there's a neat little thumbnail sketch. Well, I think it is. Let's see what happens here. Let's kind of come back and just get this thing at right degrees. It's just going to get the grip system here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and let's take it into there. And let's come back down one more time here with a little bit of shadow underneath it. Underneath it, and then just contour it just a touch. Well, I've said this in all my streams from when I started with the Twitch program here. All this stuff begins with drawing and it ends with drawing. So let's just kind of finish this off here, a little bit more detail into this. Trail off here. And I think just a little more strength in the hot spot right up and through here. Let me just sharpen the stick for a second here. There we are. A little more power in this guy, just enough to kind of tell me there's a little nacelle there. And let's just kind of do this. Let's get rid of this guy just for a second here and reorganize that little run coming through there. So it's more of that character. And again, highlight, and then into shadow. A little bit of a cut line change there, but again, look how simple that sketch is, but yet it just kind of hopefully comes off the page in terms of just being a nice dictatorial sketch in terms of, hey, this is what we're looking at. It's a nice little form study based on an element called soldier study to kind of look at shape, proportion. Does it feel right? Does it have the right gesture? Are the proportions good? All these things are results of why the soldier study lesson today is such a critical little change of pace, to not get caught up with a lot of complex perspective, but just look at honestly at an elevation as a soldier study, going through the process of elimination and then adding some of the adoration to it as you go. So let's kind of get back into this last study here. Before I do that, let me just do this. I still don't like this guy right here. It's going to kind of get rid of it. There it is. Kind of cut it back a bit and add a little bit of detail. And the drill bit itself, and we'll move on to the last phase here. Last little study. Let's kind of go back in here and get this number 6 grade. Let's kind of knock this guy out. keep that intact. This little gate in here, pull that back a touch. Pardon my hands here if I'm in the way. And again, let's get the trigger in place here. A little bit of a metallic look up front here, a little more. A bit of horizon there. Let's come back in here and really reverse this thing just a bit here. Let's kind of crank this back just to give it a little bit more boldness here. Just kind of kick this back into it. A little bit of shadow here. Again underneath. A little bolder in some of the chrome portions here. A little shadow underneath this little undercut. Now we're ready to fly here. Now we've got the basic surface in. Let's go back to the body color here and run it right through. Simple stain, one body color, nothing fancy, just looking again, color, scale, all these little things we're dealing with here. Let's come back in here just for a second, and I'm going to put the seam line back in, as well as a little bit of highlight up on top here to kind of start to bounce this thing off the page just a bit. Get a little bit of shadowing through here in the recess, drill bit. Same thing here, there. A little bit of tone change underneath here, just a touch of it, just enough of that to kind of take it through the shape. Now we come back up on top here, a little bit of highlight up on top here. And here, oop. Back to highlight. Again, back to highlight. And just slowing it down enough here, kind of do the following. Let's put a bit of shadow underneath this thing, get that seam line to run. There it is there. Let's take one more pass at this color. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit of a forward gray, just to kind of tone that back, give me a little more roundness in the actual shape itself. So let's kind of walk through it here again. No worries, we're just going to come back and re-impact this whole thing. Marker's a great medium because you have to really work quickly with it. And if you don't work quickly with it, it'll catch up with you in a hurry. It's almost like it's a wet pencil. That's all it is. You're just kind of orchestrating some of the connections in terms of being a lot more. There you go. Pardon me for getting out of the sequence there. What do you think, gang? So far, so good? A couple little studies there on top of all that. Let's kind of add this to it, and we'll kind of wrap it up here as we go, as best we can. And let's do this. All right, let's go back in here. Let's get a number 6 gray. Put a little bit of venting back here. Just a little bit of screening back in that area here. Let's kind of come back and pick this up just a touch. Light source, highlight, into highlight. Using just a little bit of highlight and impact to kind of pull it off the page and give a little more jump to it. So here we are. We come back in through here. A little bit of highlight there, a little bit of it there. Then we take it off the page. There's a little bit of a venting, so that's not deep enough in there. Let's kind of get that thing to read a little bit better here. Let's kind of get the venting system back there to kind of function for us here. So let's start again. Better. There we go. That gives a little more impact to what we're after now. Let's add a little bit of this too. I'm going to just do a little contour working through here, and we'll hopefully be able to wrap this beauty up. Let's lay that in. Let's get rid of it. Highlight. That, I think, is an absolutely terrific technique. Look how we're using that pastel in the eraser. Just kind of gave me that little transition in through here. Just kind of do this. We're going to pick it up here a little bit better. What started that whole process is how that pastel gave me the impetus to show us what happens in this little fillet area back in through here. Look how that just kind of sings, oops, pardon me, how that comes out of there and really hopefully does a job for us in terms of just being so dramatic in terms of it's simple, but at the same time has a lot of impact. And I think that's a great thing about what working with Canson does. It teaches us how to work with that middle system, middle ground, and really becomes electrifying in terms of putting together the pieces. Let me just kind of tune up a little bit here and we'll wrap it up. There it is. There it is. Just going to get a little bit of this backside piece here. Cheat a little bit of light source down below there. Take this up on top one more time. And again, a little bit of an identifier here. And there she is, gang. There's a little series of studies here. That's the last one we did. Let me sign this thing off here. let's go this route. Let's get these guys out of the way here. There's the third one. I'm going to go back and review here just a bit. If you have any feedback at all, please fire away. I'd really like to get your input on this stuff and see what you think about doing the soldier study series instead of getting into a lot of elaborate perspective. So let's go back in through here and we'll walk you right down the line. We started with the whole program saying that a soldier series or studies are really looking at A, proportion, B, scale, character, personality, all the things that we're dealing with in terms of just a pure elevation. And then it's got its nickname from the automobile industry, a soldier study, where we just lay out side views and do nothing but contour studies at 1-to-1 scale or 5th scale and see what the proportions are going to do, shape, materials, and so forth. It was a nice way to handle certain things without getting into a lot of multiplications in terms of perspective and busying things up. So these studies are just basically an exercise in how to teach us to see the third dimension on a two-dimensional plane by using a soldier study or two-dimensional view elevation to create the third dimension. So this is where we started. Sketch number one. Again, this is the same basic color palette: red, blacks, and neutral grays, a little bit of Prismacolor pencil, and a little bit of pastel to kind of give us some highlights. Sketch one, sketch two, and let me just organize them right there. There it is. There's sketch two, and let me see if we can get these guys side by side. If there's enough room here to kind of show the development there. Yeah, maybe. It's pretty close. There's 1 and 2. No, not bad. Let's just drop one down here. See what happens here. There's 1, and not quite. Let's see if we can put this over in the overlap here. Maybe just enough, about right. Might do it right about there. There's series 1 and series 2. And last but not least, let's get this guy out of the way. I don't think it's going to work very well. So there's that was the second phase. Again, quick little studies about looking at shape and form. And last but not least, this guy. And there was a third study, changing the paradigm. Very bold upper, very subtle lower. And again, all body color the same, but this little vending system in the back to change the character of the form itself. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have, and thank you very much, Dash, if you're still there, for tuning in, and also Demetrius. It's always good to have you on board. I hope you're doing well, and I wish you a very happy New Year too. We haven't had a chance to chat since last year, as well to you, Dash, if you're still tuned in. Please feel free to offer any commentary about the program today. You can drop me an email on my website at jim@drcontrast.com, and if you have any interest in going into some drawing exercises, I've got a great series of 9 drawing lessons at drcontrast.com, so please visit my website. Also on my website, I've got my Instagram account, my YouTube account, and my Twitch account, so you'll see a lot of things going on there from the work I do day to day here. So thank you again for tuning in. It's been a real fun. Again, I might try this. I might take some of these studies in the next couple of weeks or so and come back in, and for what it's worth, I might come back in and say, you know what, maybe we'll take a couple of these sketches or these forms and begin to put it in perspective and do a little more detailed work and getting some things done graphically with them. So let me put this back in sequence here so I don't lose them. And again, please, again, feel free to visit my website, drcontrast.com. Drop me an email at jim@drcontrast.com and see if I can be of any assistance to you. And again, thank you so much. I always end my stream by stating this because I firmly believe it, and I really want you to understand that I really appreciate you tuning in and being part of the process here. So, but never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Have a great day, gang. All the very best. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye now.